nerds. This is Cena Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, sir. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good.
That's good.
So we got confirmation that The Last of Us is returning on April 14th?
13th.
13th.
Yeah,
Got it.
Yeah, that Sunday, which we anticipate. That was our bet as well, that they would do it the week after the White Lotus season 3 ends. So yeah, we got that news today.
And they're having 7 episodes?
I don't recall how many episodes. That sounds about right, though. I have to look. Let me just check the.
I was looking at IMDb earlier, and it looked like 7, which is a weird number.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about an odd number of episodes in a season. It's just a strange thing. I don't know how to feel about it, but we always complain when they stretch out things too long anyway. So
yeah.
they can tell the story or whatever part of the story, because it's not going to tell the full story of the second game.
Right.
But they have it designed to tell the portion that they want to tell with these 7 episodes. So
yeah. And to that point, I know the showrunner did tell a deadline that they were possibly going to have 4 seasons totally. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that makes sense. What's that?
Really milking it, are we?
Oh yeah. I know, like, whenever the first season ended, Druckridge and the other Craig, I'm blanking on his last name right now, did mention that they were going to probably stretch out the part 2 for some time. So but I guess season 2 is going to take place 5, at least within the universe, 5 years after season 1. So yeah. And to their credit, they're not like dropping too many spoilers, or if they are, I'm just like doing a good job of avoiding them on social media or whatever.
Yeah, well, I feel like there's a code at this point with this show, because it's all of the spoilers are out there.
Yeah, true.
It's not an original thing, so it's based off of something that has already occurred. And so I just feel like the way season 1 was pulled off, there's kind of like, you're not gonna, if you do know what happens, you don't want to be chit-chatting with somebody who doesn't know, because you want them to experience the story. It's kind of like, you don't want to ruin that for anyone. And I think people who do know what's going to happen and enjoyed season 1 are going into season 2 just like, okay, so I have my expectations. I'm curious how they're going to, the changes, the deviations and the surprises, because they made a lot of changes that first season, not to a detriment though, but to a strength. They made the right changes. And I think why we got that, especially in comparison to other adapted works, whether it be from a game or a book, is that you have, as showrunners, you have the creator of the game, and then you also have a really well-rounded TV showrunner who's like, it's like the perfect melding, who in both in their own ways care about the story, and at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. So looking forward to that come April, because April, we're as we round out February and head into March, it's not going to be a dull March. I mean, we got Daredevil Born Again. But come April, it's just not luckily there's still a break. It's really the end of April where it's just like, okay, and then okay.
Yeah. We're gonna do some scheduling blocks, y'all. So we
Yeah.
know, yeah, where we know Last of Us will probably move back to Tuesday night. Just go ahead and let you know now.
Yep.
That when we record, so expect the podcast to drop late Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on your time zone. And then also, and then of course there's Andor, and of course we'll have to factor in Daredevil. So yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about.
But before we get into what we're talking about tonight, why don't we do the Black History Month?
Yeah. So actually, and this one actually ties into one of the topics that we're going to be, discussing tonight. Well, maybe not the topic, but one of the actors, the movie that we're covering tonight, of course, which is Captain America: Brave New World. And the show that I'm going to talk about that features actor Carl Lumbly is a show that that premiered on the Fox network in the early 90s, early to mid 90s, called MANTIS. That was a show that was originally a 2-hour pilot that was produced by Sam Raimi. And the character in the show that Carl Lumbly was only on for one season, and it aired in 1994, and then it got canceled on Fox, and then the final 2 episodes aired in 1997 on the Sci-Fi Channel. But the character, the show was called Mantis, and it was an African American scientist who, his name was Dr. Miles Hawkins, and this was actually a show I watched real time when it first aired, and really enjoyed it. And he was a scientist who was injured by a bullet. He was paralyzed, and so he develops an exoskeleton that which was called the Mantis, which is a mechanically augmented neurotransmitter interception system. And it basically allowed him to, obviously walk. And of course, he became a crime fighter. And the show in its early stages, really, like the pilot, really, touched on a lot of just issues as far as police brutality. Had a pretty, many African American actors also were part of the show. Part of at least what in the initial pilot movie. But then when it went to series, a lot of those folks were not kept on when it went to series. Show was pretty grounded at first with a lot of topical issues that Dr. Hawkins would face as far as, obviously issues with and social issues during the time. But as the season progressed, the tone of the show shifted. And I remember this too, because I was like, man, it went from being very grounded and to more true sci-fi, fantasy, time travel elements. And of course they did that retooling, of course, because it was a ratings thing. And then of course, like I said, it only lasted for one season, but Carl Lumbly was played Dr. Miles Hawkins, and you may be able to find it on YouTube or clips or something like that out there. But as far as on streaming services, I don't know if it's currently on any right now. But if you do search it out, I mean, overall, as I said, I do remember it, very enjoyable show, especially the first half of it. Second half was a little more wonky, but yeah, that was something I wanted to highlight tonight, especially given the role that Carl Lumbly plays now in the MCU as Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah. So basically you're recommending something but you don't know where it is, where people can find it?
Well, you could probably find it on digital, physical media.
Right.
But
yeah,
for sure. Yeah. But not necessarily on digital media.
Yeah. I found that to be funny.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that are out there like that. That's why physical media, don't get me on a soapbox about pay physical media and why, get your DVDs and, Blu-rays when you can, because otherwise you're at the whims of a streaming service.
Yeah. You really are. I still have like all of my DVDs. Like at one point, I have the entire Friends series on DVD. I have
Yeah.
the entire. I not the entire. I have the good early seasons of Grey's Anatomy on DVD.
Okay.
I think I have a few Vampire Diaries. Yeah, yeah. Related to it when I went into the CW world. Um, but I think then I switched to I didn't go too far down there before switching to more digital media and buying seasons of TV. But anyway,
Yeah,
well,
yeah. Before we jump, you can find it on. It is on Apple TV.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. That's
and you
that's
can. Yeah.
that's good to know. All right. Well, yeah, but I mean, we don't have to jump too far because you already brought him up and he
Yeah.
does play a critical part in Captain America 4 Brave New World. The IMDb summary is Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, finds himself in the middle of an international incident and must discover the motive behind a nefarious global plan. That's not really what it's.
Well, one version of it was.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I wonder what the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk 2 summary would be. All right. Do you want to go like points or do you want to share your overall thoughts? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could just go overall thoughts. Maybe I like to, we can just go through how you broke it down in your rundown because I think, overall thoughts of the film is, and I liked it. I mean, I really did. I thought it was that I shared this on my out of the theater that I posted on our channel. That I thought it was an entertaining film. Thought it was a good film. I mean, yeah. I mean, there were definitely elements of it that had its problems, but overall, I mean, I don't think it's as bad as some people out there are saying it is. But is it a home run? No, it's not either. But it's a good solid film, and that's sort of my overall thoughts about the film itself. And we can then I like to hear, then we can just get into some of the sort of bigger themes of the film.
Yeah. This isn't a bad movie. It's not a great movie. I don't think it's worth going to the theater for.
So I disagree. I think it's actually worth going to the theater for.
No, because of the cherry blossom scene. That CGI was awful. That piece was just so bad.
Yeah. Now, if you want to say it's not worth going to the theater because basically the finale was just like revealed, which is like one of my biggest problems with the film, was revealed pretty much like from the trailer and then like every single promo through. That's one of the biggest problems I have with it because I think it just undercut what could have been a better reveal, one, and two, it just also just decimated the stakes because every time I was just like, I guess while I was enjoying the film, I'm like, okay, now when is Hulk coming? Because they is it going to be, well, I thought maybe, okay, that was like clearly I thought maybe we'd get more than just one grand finale of Hulk and the third act there, but I was like thinking maybe one of those other two moments when Ross was like trying to keep it together, maybe we would get a Hulk sighting then, but nope, we didn't.
Yeah, after maybe the first time they tried to paint the picture that he was about to burst, I was like, oh, that's going to be the final act. Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
interesting. Interesting choice. You all of this drama, especially during the second act, or I don't know what you would call it, because it's not the ending act. The ending act is Hulk versus Captain America.
Yeah.
The precluding ending act is the whole trying to get fight at Celestial Island.
Yeah.
So no, my whole thing is, when I say I don't recommend, like, I don't think you need to go to the theater, it's like, I only went to the theater to watch this movie because we're covering it. At the same time, walking out of it, it's like, okay, would I have actually gone out of my way to go see this? No, I wouldn't have. And I don't, and it's just my feeling. Like, I don't feel like, and I watched this in IMAX, by the way. So maybe that's also why it was the earliest showing.
Okay.
So I was like, it might as well. So maybe that's why the design of it, and all the criticism that's out there about the CGI and some of the editing choices, like, I saw very clearly, too clearly. So maybe that's also why it's just like, I don't know. Now, that being said, like, in my opinion, arguably, and I don't mean to offend Will or anything.
No.
I think if you, like, this is a kid-friendly movie. This is a perfect family movie. Go take your kids. Like, young boys would love this movie. So would girls. But for me, my age range, I don't think this is anything anything special.
To that point, I mean, you have a point there. I mean, I think the one of the metrics that's been tracking this film has shown that younger audiences did like this film more than older audiences, and I think, so I mean, that's a fair thing to say, because it really was a very, when you think, it was very cartoonish in a lot of ways, as far as with the action sets points. And and another thing that, like I said, it was entertaining, but it was also very, and maybe this is just where we are as just viewers of this franchise at this point, where it's just like we want more because we are older, as far as viewers, and more depth. More depth of story, because like they would, like, they were trying to touch on, like, the political thriller themes. They were trying to pick up on the, Sam's struggle. We saw the struggle with him in the story, becoming the Black Captain America. We saw that in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So when we get to this film, he's clearly, like, accepted. I mean, the man's got, like, headquarters. He's not, like, getting denied for bank loans anymore. So all that kind of stuff, people, he's quote unquote made it. But whenever they were trying to, like, dig into the stories of, like, whenever he and Isaiah were having the philosophical discussion, again, that was brought up in Falcon and Winter Soldier, which was doing much better in that one, as far as the, whatever, when now Sam is like, is he working for Ross, a country that, and all the things that Ross represents, or are you on your own person? They dance around it, but they don't, like, really do anything with it to me. And it was just, I was sitting there and I was just like, give me a little bit more, because I was just like, I want more, go into that more. And it's just like this film just sort of, whether it was that or just the political thriller aspect that they were trying to get to, it was just sort of, dancing at the top of the levels, and it wasn't surface deep.
Right. They had the kid-friendly gloves on.
Yeah.
And that's like a big problem with this film, is that when you say entertained, for me, I was like, I don't know if I can truly say I was entertained. Like I said, I don't think it's a bad movie. Mm-hmm. I definitely don't know. I can't. I keep comparing it to Love and Thunder, just because.
No.
Well, wait.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Because I mean, no matter what you think about that movie, my experience as an audience member was just having a big smile on my face, because for some reason Chris Hemsworth's comedy, like it just does it for me, and Taika Waititi's comedy. So the dramatic plot points and the villain, horrible, like on the same level as, in my opinion, the villain in this movie. But it was the comedy where I was like, oh, yeah, it's not a great movie, but I was entertained. This movie, okay, I didn't laugh one single time. Nobody in my audience laughed a single time. And I was not, I can't really full-heartedly say I was entertained, because I kept getting distracted by things. Mainly the fact that I wasn't laughing at jokes and thinking in my head that, like, I don't know why that didn't work for me, but I see you, Marvel humor, and I don't know what you're doing right now. But it was mainly distracting because I felt like Joaquin Torres was in a different movie. And then I kept getting distracted by Ruth, because I'm a short person, okay? I'm 5'6". I'm short. Okay? I'm average for female or borderline, I don't know. But I know I'm short. So the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, I need to figure out how short she is, because I need to make sure she's shorter than me. I'm like, you're distractingly small in comparison. Like, they didn't even try to hide it. Like, she's 5'2", but she, like, I mean, I know Scarlett Johansson is short, but she doesn't appear that short on screen. So, like, whether they use, like, what they do with Tom Cruise, Apple boxes, but they did not try to hide it. And it was just very distracting to me, on top of, like, so you're just going to throw out there that she's, like, Red Room trained, former Black Widow, but also the head of the security, which was just an awkward scene of, like, I just had an assassination attempt on me. I'm in a room with all of my my cabinet members, and then Captain America comes in, everyone out, he stays, she comes in, nope, she's staying too. It's like, what?
Yeah. I mean,
weird and clunky.
Yeah, it was clunky. Well, also I think too is just to me that her edits were actually, to me, more distracting and of like where than the Giancarlo Esposito reshoots, because to your point, because of the nature of this character, they were like, okay, we can't piss anybody, it's just like, I think they were allowing real world geopolitical things going on with Israel, Gaza, and other stuff.
Yeah.
To, like, influence, like, oh, okay, so we can't piss off like X number of crowd by making Sam too blackity black. We can't piss off Israelis or Gaza or Palestinians because of the conflict there. So I mean, it was so those kind of things that were done to this film, especially given how long it's like taking. That was for me like even more apparent, given no one saw Brist's backstory, why they went there. I was like, oh gosh, yeah, that kind of stuff was just like, yeah, come on, y'all, just grow up here. We're adults in the room. You can handle this.
If you're gonna bring it to the table, then do it. You can't go halfway with this stuff. Like, either she's that character or she's not.
Right.
And by not going there, that's where the whole commentary that this is a watered down version of, whether it be Captain America Civil War or even Winter Soldier itself. Like, the story, because you're afraid to bring in the original ideas, you are therefore reverting inadvertently back to things we've seen before.
Yeah.
And I mean that, like, like that was also disappointing, is to watch it and just be like, okay, so yeah, it's a new Captain America, but we're going through the same beats here. Like we in the last two movies, and they were more entertaining because not because they didn't go there with some of the stuff, but just because of it felt more fresh too at the time. But I also think I like how you brought up the impact of current political issues on this movie because of the wanting it to be more grounded and tap into that political thriller. It almost worked itself into a detriment because I mean, you have that impact, and at the same time, like, we're talking Winter Soldier and Civil War were like in phase 2 Marvel.
Yeah,
right?
2 and 3, yeah.
Yeah, they were sequels of like the first Avenger movie, and we've already had the Avengers. And so what I'm getting at you're gonna present this during phase 4 or whatever phase we're in right
I don't even know what phase we're in at this point.
Yeah, like phase 4.5.
5, I mean 6, I mean,
yeah. And at this point, we've gone to space so many times. Like, how many times have we been to space? How many times? Like, it's interesting if you following this franchise and really look at it to see how a movie like this and a movie like Black Widow have that are meant to be more grounded and it's like, yeah, but they're in phases where all of this like larger than life spectacle stuff. And so I feel like as a fan or a viewer of this franchise, it's kind of disorienting to go from space to home, and also at a period where Endgame has already, like post Endgame, and you're just like, okay, so when's the last time we've been on Earth? Okay. And also, when is the last time where we, like for this movie, what's going on with America? Who are our people? Like, and how are the superhero people being treated? I think a big misstep that we have yet to talk about is by bringing in back Thunderbolt Ross and doing the Red Hulk storyline. They really made it into the sequel to The Incredible Hulk, like that whole storyline. I've never watched The Incredible Hulk, but I know Liv Tyler's in it. I do know that much. And I know other characters who are in it who are different in this movie, but I think that the misstep is doing that and not really making it about his involvement with the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah.
And what that means post Endgame.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a good point, because they did drop the Sokovia Accords in there, you know, and so whenever they had the whole "you're not Steve Rogers," you know, blah blah blah. So that is a very good point. Beyond just that, it's a sequel to The Incredible Hulk. It's more than that, because the Sokovia Accords was a very, you know, to our point about things being grounded. I mean, that was the whole theme and thrust of like the big philosophical is just blow up between Tony and Steve. Yep.
And it also impacted Sam. And that was what it was also mentioned in this movie, that was like, they locked us up during, like, he's the one responsible for locking me up during that time period. So I don't know why they didn't focus so much more attention on that. Like, and the fact that, granted, he didn't know throughout the movie that he was becoming a person with powers. But they could have done so much more with that, and it was such a glaring missed opportunity that, like, on the one hand you'd have that, and on the other hand, they invested so much time into us really understanding or knowing Thunderbolt Ross and like why he's changed or hasn't changed and all of this, that I felt like the whole time I'm like, okay, but what's going on with Sam?
Yeah. Because they could have easily linked the two with this, especially with Isaiah's story, all the Ross's story, and Sam really, having that philosophical debate with himself about what's going on here beyond him. It's like, should I take the serum or not take the serum? I mean, that was like this. That was just a surface level.
Yeah. Well, I think even the serum discussion is interesting. Like going more into that because it is especially after the series Falcon and Winter Soldier, and to find himself now taking on Captain America, that role, he doesn't have powers. I mean, I know, and my mind immediately goes like, Batman doesn't either.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right. And we saw that. We saw the Wakanda technology and all of that. But really what this movie should have done and should have focused on is really hammering it home as to why not just Sam Wilson, but anyone who doesn't have powers, like, or maybe hammering home why specifically Sam Wilson, someone who doesn't have powers, but who had a very unique relationship with Steve Rogers, is the only one who can take on that mantle. I still don't really understand why Sam is the right person. Like, they haven't proven that to me. Like, I haven't seen anything unique. And I know we've talked about this before. I struggle, especially in this genre, when it's like, okay, so what's the trade-off here? Like, what is Sam giving up by assuming this position or this role? Like what's the flaw in the armor? And maybe, and yes, you can say, well, he's black and it's Captain America and there's all that meaning, but because they don't go into it, it doesn't carry that substance. So
it's like they're some of the good less things that they did well in Falcon and Winter Soldier, to that point, as far as exploring to him, struggling with just taking on this mantle of Captain America and what it all means, and then using this film as a vehicle to really go even deeper into that. It was definitely a missed opportunity.
Yeah, because so how many years have gone by? Like, the events of this movie, 3 years?
Yeah.
2 years? So that wasn't very clear to me while watching the movie.
Yeah.
And you were saying before, like, he's clearly doing good things. He's getting paid, and I'm like, okay, so who's paying him? Is he still a government contractor?
Right.
If so, then why is it a big deal that he would report to President Ross? Like, doesn't he already? I'm confused.
Yeah. And and then you make a big deal for him saying, no, I don't work for Ross.
Yeah.
But yet, But then they don't like. But then, of course, somehow but they don't like. They show but don't tell. Like whenever Ross pulls him over and uses him as a useful political prop to like take that photo in the White House.
Yeah.
It's just there's so many. There was just, I guess again, as far as overall in the grand scheme of the 35 feature films of the MCU, yeah, it's middle of the pack for sure. I guess, but it just took the things that we're discussing are what would have made this a decent film to a great film.
Right.
And so, and when you judge it against the other outings in this franchise. So I do agree with you, though, to something you said earlier, that there are a lot of those Marvel beats that they just got to, like, if they want this franchise to sustain itself, not only for older viewers like us who've been on the ride for all 35 films and 40 plus stuff when you factor into TV shows, and also newer viewers, they're going to have to change some stuff up, because and be willing to take chances again, because I think that's what made meeting the audience where they are now versus where we were, when Endgame happened.
Yeah. Which has been a struggle during this entire phase.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, there's been some highlights in this phase for sure, but it's recency bias. Like, you're always going to be compared to what's coming out right now, and it's just it's got to feel fresh, and it didn't, and it felt too derivative. And I mean, my final point is, like, these movies, I can always tell how much time they invest in their bad guys developing, because Thanos is one of the most talked about villains for a reason.
Yes.
He took up so much time and he was teased, but really Infinity War is his movie.
Yeah.
It's his movie. It's not about the Avengers, because we already know them. It's about Thanos and us understanding, and that's why. And then you have Killmonger is another example. He's also talked about up there as one of the great villains, not because he overtakes the movie Black Panther, but because they give enough time where there's clear motivation. There's a clear foil working between him and T'Challa, yeah. T'Challa, yeah. I was like, I'm going to say this wrong because I'm trying to visualize the spelling, and, like, no, don't do that.
Yeah. I think you said T'Chaka the father. Yeah.
I was like, and then so again, like, but there was balance, and you understood both, because it also, when the villain, what they're going through mirrors what your main protagonist is going through, like, it just comes together really well. And I that's all I don't want to spend a lot of time on the leader, which I didn't even know he was the leader until I listened to some discussions about it.
I remember vaguely that the leader was the villain in this in the movie, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely underdeveloped. He was almost like, he reminded me a lot of Psycho Pirate from the Arrowverse version of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah,
he's kind of there, but not doing much.
And what he does do, you're just like, really? That's the best dialogue? Okay. Yeah. And anyway, well, those are our thoughts about Captain America 4: Brave New World. And now we will head over to talk about Paradise, Episode 6. You asked for miracles. Xavier and Robinson execute their plans as Sinatra strives to maintain Paradise's current state. I'm going to say I really like this episode.
Yes, I did too.
Not as much as the pilot.
No, but I was like, this. I will say this episode reminded me of, like, why I really like this series, and the whole cat and mouse game between Xavier and Sam there.
with the events that transpired in this episode. The pilot still was like chef's kiss, but this was this is probably this is like 1A.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Strong. But,
yeah.
Yeah, like between the editing that they did with the flashbacks and I really think out of all the episodes, I will say other than the flashbacks we get specifically with him and his wife, because we've finally introduced to Terry.
Yep.
Finally see her, and it's very telling. You're like, yep, got it. Understood how this dynamic works. Very cool.
Yeah. Very
On
cool.
board for that. It was interesting that, in my opinion, as much as I love James Marsden as Cal and Xavier, because of what was going on in present day, I felt like the flashbacks, I was like, we're in and we're out. I understood what they were doing and why they were doing that, and of course there is some lines specifically about the Die Hard, which plays into present day events beautifully. And then I wrote down what I thought was just a beautiful moment when he notices the painting, when Cal points out the portrait. And he's like, I thought it was so weird that somebody would gift this to the White House, and I keep looking at it, and then I realize these women are reading and they have mosquito nets over their faces, and it's like, why? But they're fooling themselves to think that they have any way to prevent the cruelness of nature. And I was just like, between that and the whole cow metaphor in the present day, I can't say that they were throwaway, but it's just that I was so much more engaged into what was going on in present day throughout this, that I was like, okay, we'll dip back into this whole rundown about the escape plan for when shit hits the fan, but let's get back to present day. Let's get back to what's going on here. And it was one of a very well paced episode. Very well paced. I didn't feel like we lingered anywhere too much. And I think that's why, one of the reasons why when it ended, I was like, oh, it's ended. Okay. Wow. Well, that happened. That escalated.
Yeah. That escalated very much so that, like, many viewers and listeners of our show and others have speculated, which is Terry's probably alive out there somewhere, but it wasn't the way that we thought. It was the way that they tease it, with Samantha using it as a bargaining chip. I was like, okay, because I was like, all right, I can. That begs more questions, especially some of the things that we saw, as in this episode. And also I started theory spiraling, and I was like, okay, now, going back to the Versailles Protocol and the discussions about Terry and Cal, and when they were having this, when Marston was like, when Cal was like telling Xavier, look, maybe you should stop going to Atlanta so much.
Yeah.
During that discussion. So I think it was clearly he knew something was going down. Has it been said what Terry? I can't recall what she, because I was trying to think of, like, okay, Atlanta, big federal presence.
She's just a scientist.
She's a scientist. So my immediate thought was, okay, CDC's there. I was thinking, she was talking about how her project's growing and stuff. So I was thinking, first I thought CDC, but then I was starting to think more about, like, okay, if he was told, if he did say, they could pick her up from the plane could go pick her up from Atlanta. Kyle saying that, is she working with his dad with this Paradise Project, and are they building another, site there, especially when we learned that 2 nuclear warheads were like dropped in the city.
I had that idea cross my mind back in like episode 2 or something, very early on in the show. But because of how he talked about like she should stop going there, I don't think they were building another site there. I did wonder if maybe her work has to do with what eventually happens. But from the way it was portrayed on screen, it seemed more like Cal was, no, she needs to be like it's imminent. The danger is imminent, and I think we can go get her, but I don't.
Yeah, because and to that point too, that's why I did think also as so I was running down the theory spiral, and the other thing was like, okay, he was also telling, he was giving Xavier a note. It's like, I can't tell you that the end of the world's about to happen,
right?
But but Atlanta's, clearly whoever attacks the United States, they're going to, it is a prime target that they're going to want to wipe out.
Yeah. Well, we found out like 2 bombs were dropped specifically on Atlanta. It's gonna connect to the number on the cigarette. Like there's really a reason why he specifically wrote that number on the cigarette. I think it has to do with the flight number, and I think Cal did uphold his promise to get her on a plane, but the plane ended up someplace else. Now, I will say, I forget at what point in the episode, but when it was brought up that Terry was alive, I was like, oh, so she was the girl they found in the woods. So she was alive, and then Pace killed her.
Or
I was like, what?
Yeah.
But then Samantha said, and I'll help you find her. And like, okay. So Samantha knows the plane she eventually got onto and is willing to help. Now that's the whole, like, I don't know how much Samantha's going to be willing to help once she realizes that Jane is going to hold Presley hostage.
Yeah.
So the leverage is going to shift as soon as Samantha realizes that. But
yeah.
But I will. Can we just point out? Yeah. Okay. Can we stop the discussion? Samantha did not kill Cal.
No, she did not.
And I've been saying that.
You were right. You were right. I was wrong on that one. I think I'm also wrong in the sense that I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. But was she behind his death? No, I don't think that either. So I'm putting. We can put that one to bed.
Yeah. Thank God, because I was tired. Now, can more people get on my train? Okay, because we see a sweatshirt with the flower emblem, and I know that's connected to Kane.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So can we all hypothesize together? Tell me that wasn't Terry.
That's my first. That was my first thought. Whenever Presley mentioned, and I thought about the opening scene where Terry and Xavier were talking about that her blue jacket.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, ooh. And then there's also, I did see some online. Someone pointed out the fact that Kane mentioned all the secrets have flowers.
Yeah. Yes.
So I'm not going to take credit for it. I saw someone on the internet, I can't remember who said it, but they made the point of that. And and whenever whenever the iPad, we saw the flower, the jacket, we saw the flower.
earlier in the season, whenever they went to flashback and whenever building Paradise, we saw people wearing the blue jackets with the flower.
Yeah.
So it's either, so either Terry has something to do with it, the killing, or someone on the project. But yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to rewind back to the days when Will thought I was crazy. So my two theories were that I've put out there, like episode 1 and episode 2, Terry killed Cal. Yeah. I definitely had that one. My other theory, though, I think in episode 2 I said this. I said, I don't think we've met the person who killed Cal.
Yeah, you did say that.
Which, based on the scene, and we were pretty much right about how Presley obtained the, it's still weird how she... It's still weird to me a little bit how they explain this. So she shows up to play Wii, but because she finds an iPad, she leaves and takes the iPad, thinking it'll have to do with her mother's death. But why she would think that about just a random iPad, I don't know, unless she's been told. So I don't know, because we know that Xavier is aware about the iPad, but I think that's another reason why I like this episode, is I'm like, yep, not crazy. Will was wrong. Finally. I cover way too many shows where he's right and my theories are wrong.
Yeah. I mean, to my credit, I did say that was just too obvious that Sam, and he did too, that she would be the killer. But I was just like, but I was really thinking, just because of her motivations, and especially as we trying to uphold this society, as we saw it even in this episode, as I alluded to, with the cat and mouse game between the two of them, with trying to protect the secret. That was sort of where I was sort of going with that. But yeah, I mean, but she was, and she definitely, that was one of the things I did like about this episode too. Obviously, clearly the Die Hard references galore, but also just her, with Xavier, being true to, as Terry pointed out, with the whole, I loved how they used the scene there at the principal's office. How that his temperament and him knowing Sinatra, but also Sinatra, I think, a little underestimated him a little bit as well. Thinking back to like to the pilot.
She's been underestimating a lot of people. Can I just point out one thing about that opening scene, the student teacher conference?
Yeah.
What I really liked about it is not just that Terry, with all of the attitude and grace, really, really calling things out and just being a character. But typically when you see, like, when someone is clearly obsessed with their job, it's often portrayed in TV and film that because they're so intelligent and obsessed with their work, they neglect their children. I loved that little line and moment walking out where Terry knew more about the project, because she knew that, it was a revenge. This was done on purpose. Xavier had no idea.
Yep.
I was just like, that's great, because we have this idea of who she is, and then we're presented with a character still not knowing, but because of that one little line, I was like, okay. So it's not, she may arguably put her marriage second, but she ain't putting her kids second to her work. So she's not falling into that. Like, she's not a mother who abandoned them. Like, her issue, like and the fact that they're not a perfect couple either, because of the strain, because there's a clear strain, and but that, because they've been together for so long, I'm sure that has kind of just scar tissue covered itself up. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that.
Oh, no, that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you juxtapose it against Samantha, and Sinatra, as far as her, especially when we see her sort of backstory with her family and as well. But really, to your point, really just really flipping the switch too. That
So wait, are you saying that Sinatra was job obsessed?
Just a little.
Okay. See, I don't know because.
But maybe
because of the grief.
Yeah. Actually, no. I think maybe it's more how. Yeah, maybe it's Let me rephrase that. I think maybe it's more just seeing how to your point about these character moments, as far as how people react to situations, even because all of these people in Paradise, for the most part, are very successful people in some form or fashion. Kyle was a little, even though he found his agency late in life, he still was president, even though if it was manufactured by his dad, but it did happen. But I mean, I think those moments really show how deep these characters are. And to your point, how how Terry, given that we've been told a lot about Terry, but we haven't been shown a lot about Terry. And I think when they did finally have the moment to show her, they used it to its maximum effect.
Yeah. We didn't get too much. We got just the right amount of Terry, even though we saw her in the hoodie too.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because there is a flaw in this whole idea, and that's just like, well, so she ran away. She didn't at one point see Presley. So that's a bit weird. But I also want to point out, and we talked about this last week, but I just want to bring it up again because he was not as prominent in this episode, but Jeremy.
Yeah.
Again, Jeremy and Presley continue not to behave and be written as 10-year-olds. They're also arguably in this episode, they're maybe written too maturely, because the fact that she admits that she was there and shows him the iPod and he just accepts everything.
Yeah.
Like, okay. But I'm glad we don't have to spend like 5 minutes on like, what? Why are you lying? No, there was just acceptance. And then she even showed him the recordings that he then started to share with everyone else at the end, only for her then to go and leave with Jane. There were parts like those few beats. There were a handful of just parts of like, we need to get this character here conveniently and quickly. We can't spend too much time on it.
Yeah. That will be that. If that were the flaw for this episode, for me, that was it. Those conveniences, because that one, her Jane Presley disobeyed her father, and then but something's got to but at the same time, if that doesn't happen, then Jeremy doesn't get the iPad and they don't open it up and really open this whole story up even more about what the truth of Paradise for the rest of the residents.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll given that the rest of the episode was so damn good, I'll give him that one.
Yeah. The to just go back to the flower sweatshirt for a quick moment.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it last night, and I was thinking, who we haven't seen in a hot minute? We haven't seen Cal's wife.
No, that's a good point.
And based on, now we don't see a face, but based on the physique, There's a part of me who's like, okay, was it Cal's wife?
It's a possibility.
Really, because we see her this one time, or like we see her like twice maybe in the pilot.
Yep.
And she's arguably one of the few characters we haven't delved into at all.
Yeah.
And Jeremy's just roaming around town.
Yeah. That's a good flag as far as characters that we, that, because again, there is motive with the affair.
Yeah. Well, I got the sense when she I get this sense that like she was living in a separate house. They had already in their minds divorced.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would have anything to do with Robinson. It might have more to do with the similar reasons to why Xavier is blowing stuff up. And because I wonder how, and maybe that's why season 2's already been written, because if it was her, we're gonna get the full backstory between her and Cal and the falling out in the second season. But it's definitely an avenue that the more I think about it has not been explored. But was definitely mentioned and should be a big part of this, but clearly isn't at the moment which I think is purposeful.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing this series has done a good job of is it'll drop things out there and just leave them hanging. Yeah, it's all there for a purpose. Either either red herring or for the overall the bigger mystery of what's going on here.
Yeah. The last character I want to bring up, which I don't really want to, I just have to mention to it, is that Dr. Tharabi, Gabriella, continues to be my most annoying character in this show. Just ever since we had that conversation when I called her a pick-me girl, that's all I see when she's on screen. In this episode, she just delved more into that. Just like, so, and then also, like, what was that all about? So you're telling me Sam not only is spying on people, but Sam has the cameras in people's bathrooms?
Yeah.
Great. Samantha, you're dirty girl. Like, what are you doing peeping on people while they're in the shower?
Yeah. She is the ultimate control freak. The funny thing with, we talked about, Gabriella and whether or not she, her wild card factor. And it's interesting as things were just sort of falling apart there. It was Xavier's plan was just kept with the 3-body problem, teasing her in the sky messaging.
Yep.
I really was really struck by their motivations as far as why they want to keep Paradise going, as far as Sam for her obvious reasons, but then the Robbie, she her whole thing was like this was her experiment, and whenever she was like motivating Sam not to like shut the sky off, to and reboot the system, so
I don't think that's like I think they have the same reasons for wanting to keep Paradise going, but she was the voice of reason and saying, if you do this, this is what will happen.
Yeah, I think they both wanted to keep going, but I think their motivations are similar but different. Sam, I think just wants to keep it going just because she just doesn't want all the truth to come out that that people are alive on the outside, because that was the big lie that they had to tell everyone to like to then go to Tharabi's plan of like, we just got to accept this.
and make a new world. So I think the motivations. I think the Robbie, whether or not people are alive on the surface or not, I don't know if that. I mean, it does play into her, like, keeping this this program going forward. But so I think they still have different motivations for doing it. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, she is the voice of reason. But I think it was just but her motivations were different. And, but also she also sort of she also figured out what Xavier was trying to tell her as far as the story about, pigs and this, being led to the, led to the slaughter. Yeah.
To the slaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I can get 100% sure or on board with the motivation thing, but maybe it's just because I'm dealing with semantics. But yeah, she's the worst. Like, I love how you continue to like want to make Sam out to be this awful person. And I'm like, no, she's not that bad. And then, but when it comes to Dr. Tharabi, I'm like, she's the worst.
Tharabi's they're both bad for different reasons. I mean, I will say that, they do, I think to your point though, they do, even through all the bad things that Sam does. I mean, they're still trying to retain her humanity.
So that we understand why she's doing that. I don't understand Gabriella.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did, I would not be as annoyed. But it's when I'm like, I don't like you were saying before, her motivation. Why? So she can keep, she doesn't know that people are alive on the outside. So right. she's still under this guise that this world. So her motivations are not necessarily to, she doesn't have a devious motivation there.
Right. And that's that. Yeah, I mean, that's where I was getting at. I mean, I think that's where Sam and Tharabi's motivations diverge, because I think back to the conversation when Xavier and Tharabi,
social architect. Yep.
Social architect. Yeah. I mean, that's her life's work. I mean, it's an academic exercise for her to see if we can make this thing work. Whereas Sam's motivations are, different from that. And it's not about social architecture. It's just it's to keep this, this dream that she had come up with, as sort of memorial and to her son in some regards, alive. Because when you think about everything that's planned into that, when we think back to the horse and all the other architecture around the city, I mean, it's, it's reminders for her about her son.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there's many ways you can interpret it. I mean, I'm not saying I'm right. I think there's many ways you can look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's but I'm trying to think if there's any other major points. I mean, Kane was just served as open to the iPad. Yeah, he basically was the iPad opener, and then, and it's, all the billionaires got off to their, to their bunkers, and it was also just really cool to sort of seeing, Xavier's, how many people had Xavier's back and as far as pulling the team together. Because I was also worried throughout the episode, was one of those agents going to turn on them and spill, to tip off Jane as far as where they are and what they were doing.
For some reason, I didn't have that worry. I liked the reason. I liked the explanation for why Robinson didn't bring Jane in. I thought that was clever.
Yeah.
Not convenient, but okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Of
why she wouldn't. I was mainly worried that Xavier was going to call in Jane.
Yeah.
That's the only, nobody else. I was just
maybe
or not.
Yeah,
but he was clearly focused on other things. And after Robinson said what she said, it was like, okay, that's fine by me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yeah, we'll see. We got 2 more episodes left. Is that right? Yeah, 7.
Yeah, 7, 8. Yeah.
All right. And on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on all the socials at Will M Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on X, formerly known as Twitter at Scene and Nerd, on Blue Sky at Scene and Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Threads at scene_n_nerd, and visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.